Do I believe global surface temperatures are going up? Yes, I do. Do I believe that there are man-made causes that may be playing a role in that? It appears plausible that could actually be the case. However, I do not believe that is anywhere near an existential risk for humanity. And
so let's just talk probability. Okay, go ahead.
So just a couple facts, because you could put probabilities around it, but if you look at the hard realities, are 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures today rather than warm ones. The Earth is now covered by more green surface area today than it was a century ago because carbon dioxide is actually sustenance, plant food effectively. And the right answer to all of these temperature-related deaths, cold or hot, is more abundant and plentiful access to energy, which requires fossil fuels.
Mark Cuban gets taken down by Vivek Ramaswamy in this debate over climate change. This is an extension of a video we did earlier this week where they debated DEI, so be sure to go check that out if you are interested. But in this clip, Mark Cuban, once again, just shilling for the liberals, explains why he's such a huge believer in climate change, and actually we need to restructure all of society to cater to this fear-mongering, and Vivek absolutely handles it. So folks, if you enjoy our content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. And without further ado, let's just get right into this, and I have a lot to say at the end. So let's play the clip.
To me, I believe climate change is real. I believe it's man-made. And if that is the case, I'm going to be for anything that mitigates that risk. Because there's nothing more important to me in the value chain, right, in my risk analysis and dealing with probability than what's going to create the best world for my kids.
So I'll say a word about my own views on climate change. We don't have to debate this because the more important part is the business part, although we can debate the climate change part too.
So first of all, I'm going to pause just because I don't want to gloss over anything that he said. He said climate change is real, but he's going to do anything it takes to mitigate that risk. It's like, okay, well, in theory, if you wanted to stop climate change, you could ban all fossil fuels tomorrow. And yes, that would mitigate the risk, at least theoretically, of climate change. But at the same time, the human cost of that would be astronomical. You would send society back to the pre-industrial age. But this is the thing about the climate change radicals, is to them that's perfectly okay, right? They don't care how many people necessarily might die because of climate change policies, which is very real. When you send the world back in the dark, that's what's going to happen. But it's almost like these people are sociopaths. We got to stop the fossil fuels, and I don't care what it does to the rest of the planet. So already, Mark Cuban, that is worth pointing out. You'll do anything it takes to mitigate the risk. Really, how far will you go? Because there's plenty of policies that could stop climate change that would also destroy the world and kill a bunch of people. Like, that's just the reality. So just something to think about there.
So do I believe global surface temperatures are going up? Yes, I do. Do I believe that there are man-made causes that may be playing a role in that? It appears plausible that could actually be the case. However, I do not believe that is anywhere near an existential risk for humanity. And
so let's just talk probability. Okay, go ahead.
So just a couple facts, because you could put probabilities around it, but if you look at the hard realities, are 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures today rather than warm ones. The Earth is now covered by more green surface area today than it was a century ago because carbon dioxide is actually sustenance, plant food effectively. And the right answer to all of these temperature-related deaths, cold or hot, is more abundant and plentiful access to energy, which requires fossil fuels. So for that reason, what's that?
What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong?
Yeah, so there's some tail problem.
Because we don't know. Nobody knows for certain, right?
So the what if you're wrong argument, I can engage with that. Right? Because I think that's a legitimate. Even if there's a 1% chance you're wrong, how do you know? My only answer to that is you could be wrong in both directions, right?
Of course you can. But in my case, it costs money. In your case, my kids could be French fries, and their kids could have no chance.
Again, that's not true. Okay, this idea that, climate change is just like, we do some policies, it's okay, it just costs a little bit of money. No, right? If you get rid of fossil fuels, you are getting rid of the lifeline for much of human civilization. Okay, and there's no guarantee that we'd be fine without them. And again, Mark Cuban, I'm going to go back to what you originally said. You said you'd be willing to do anything to mitigate the risk. Anything. Okay, so again, we could ban all the fossil fuels tomorrow and make everyone live without electricity, essentially, or cars or any of that stuff. That theoretically mitigates the risk. You may say that's a straw man, you're exaggerating, whatever, but no, that is absolutely true, right? So equally in the other direction, your kids could be screwed over by the radical, insane policies of the climate activists, okay? Because the climate change movement indeed does advocate for the fundamental restructuring of everyone's life, and not in a way that is better. So
that debate's going to go on for a really long time, and I'm super interested in that. I've got a book coming out later this year evaluating all of the different angles on this for part of that. The part I'm interested in, though, for the business point, okay? Why should it be an individual business or a CEO that takes into account what they're doing for their own business to address climate change? Wouldn't that not make your business less competitive relative to Chinese peers?
Well, it depends. No,
none of whom, by the way, give the first care about climate change.
So there you have the debate between Vivek Ramaswamy and Mark Cuban over climate change. We'll talk about it in a second, but before we get into it, I feel like this is worth pointing out, which is Mark Cuban wants to talk such a big game about climate change. He's such a great guy. He's just trying to save the kids, right? And all the conservatives who are not these climate radicals who want to restructure human civilization, they're just being selfish. What about your children? Okay, well, it's almost like we can do this for any of these liberal celebrities, but it's actually especially true of Mark Cuban. So let's read from this article here as of December 2023. It's called Inside Mark Cuban's Private Jet Collection. Oh, that's very interesting, right? Anything to mitigate the risk, he says. But at the same time, he's still flying on private jets. Not only does he have one private jet, he has several private jets. And this is the guy lecturing us about climate change. Let's read it. I feel like people need to know this so that this guy never has the credibility to tell you to sacrifice your way of life for the climate cult ever again, okay? So, Mark Cuban, known for his business ventures and NBA team ownership, owns two luxurious private jets. The Cuban's Gulfstream G550 holds a Guinness World Record for the single largest e-commerce transaction, and the Mavericks one acquired for $36 million, especially outfitted for his NBA team and stuff like that. So it's like, first of all, and this is obviously true of most of the climate change people, Mark Cuban, you want us to give up our entire way of life, right? Don't drive your car, don't use electricity, turn your AC off, don't eat meat, all of this stuff, do everything to change. You can't even get rid of the private jets, something that is not even necessary for you to live. It's just like lifestyle, right? It's just luxury because you're rich. You can't even get rid of that, but you're out here talking about changing all of human society to, stop the risk of climate change. He's full of crap, right? It's a complete virtue signal. And by the way, is the case for Mark Cuban a lot. He acts like this bleeding heart liberal out here, but it's like, dude, you don't follow through on anything you're saying. You just say you're a liberal, you're a Democrat, either to shield yourself from the system, right? Because in the case of someone like, say, Elon Musk or Donald Trump, we see what happens when rich people actually start to question the regime. Or number two, I don't know, to feel better about yourself or something like that. Not exactly sure. But on the point that Vivek Ramaswamy made there, this has been my take exactly, which is climate change real? Yes, of course it's real, right? You can measure that, global temperatures are rising over the past couple decades, whatever it is. But here is my first thing is, does some of that probably have something to do with human activity? Yes. I mean, when you plant a tree in an area versus when you put concrete, you see how human activity can change the temperature. So on a large scale, that's probably true. However, here's a couple things to point out. First of all, we don't know how much of human activity is correlated to climate change, how much of it is natural, and more importantly, if we actually cut our emissions, how much that would bring down climate change, right? So the left is demanding that we embrace these crazy radical policies that would restructure society, make life significantly worse for a ton of people, but we don't even know, firstly, how much they would actually help with climate change. Nobody's ever been able to quantify or model that. Frankly, the scientists have no idea what they're doing. And perhaps more importantly, whether the cost of that, right, the opportunity cost, the trade-off is better than simply allowing climate change to happen, but continuing human prosperity. So that way we can still be wealthy, we can still generate prosperity. And if we need to adapt technology to deal with climate change, we absolutely can do it without sacrificing the human way of life, right? It's a humanist perspective, and that's my thing on this. And I think that's Vivek Ramaswamy's point as well, which is Why do we have to sacrifice human society and prosperity in our way of life because hypothetically climate change might do this or that? You know, we can adapt technology to do it, but it's very telling because even people like Mark Cuban do not actually think that we should structure human society to fit climate change or sacrifice all this stuff or do any of it, because look at the way, once again, he lives his life.
Filled with sports cars from every decade. Others, like billionaire Mark Cuban, prefer to fill a hangar or two instead. The American billionaire is widely known to the public as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He has also reached fame through his participation in the business reality TV series Shark Tank. When he's not overseeing his NBA team, producing movies, or investing in crypto startups, Cuban is quite the collector of private jets.
Again, this is the guy who's going to lecture us on climate change, telling us we need to restructure society. Give me a break. Give me a break. That said, folks, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.